everybody, what's up? It's Aseer the Ducateers here once again, building with you now. We're in a couple of days of the new regime. The first couple of days after that, I noticed people walking around here almost like in a daze, almost like they were shocked. And I don't just mean so-called melanated people, I mean like other people of other nationalities walking around here looking like somebody stole a bike. And in the end, I don't know why they're upset. I don't know why people feel like things are going to become worse when really, when you're sleeping on the floor, you can't fall out the bed. So they already created a regime system by which you can only choose 2 candidates, even though there was like maybe 5 or 6 on the actual ticket or ballot. But those people are not important. They only want you to focus on the main 2, because in this 3-card Monte game, you can't know about the hidden card. And the hidden cards are all of the things that led up to them creating this. People are under the misconception that the Democratic Party was always a party for the disenfranchised, when really we have to remember that the Democratic Party was created by Thomas Jefferson, who was an illicit, rampant slave trader, as well as a self-hating so-called mulatto. And he created a bunch of protocols that led to the finalization of what we understand the Democratic Party to be. That's why they went through a phase where the Democrats were kind of dealing with the Federalists. But in order for them to establish the Democratic Party, they needed to find a way to torpedo the central bank that they wanted to set up. So in setting up that central bank, the person who was in charge of that was another Moor named Alexander Hamilton, who was from the island of Nevis. And based upon him being in the position to establish the first mint, they needed somebody to take him out so that way they could bring the private bankers in by the War of 1812. And so the person or the patsy that they used to kill him was a dude named Aaron Burr. Burr wound up shooting him in a duel by which everybody in a sense was down with. But once it happened, people started to really see how many people was really feeling Hamilton. And I bring that up because that's really kind of what they're going to start feeling about this guy Obama. And the fact that when he was elected, the country as we know it was in the toilet. Everything was about to go into revolt. The country was in total receivership. It was recession, inflation, hyperinflation. They was dealing with it all. So because they knew that the people was ready to just come in and burn this whole thing down, they needed to give the people something that was going to allow them to give them hope. Because hope is the hook in the bait that catches the fish, right, who are the people, out of the water, which represents freedom. So in that, they brought your boy in, and what he did was step into the spiritual void that has been absent within the so-called United States strata system since it started over 240 years ago. And what he did was he put the brakes on anybody trying to really go in and kind of like really dismantle the so-called United States corporation as a whole. And so that worked for about 8 years. But in the whole 8 years, he ain't never do nothing for original people. He ain't never do nothing for people who were totally disenfranchised. The only thing that he ever really did anything for in terms of like setting referendums, bills, was for Mexicans, gays, who else? Refugees. They're crazy with the refugee situation. We get into that in a minute. Refugees, foreigners, foreign aid. He's into everything else and hooking everybody else up but his own constituency. What he did for the police that killed, there was more police killings in his presidency than almost any other presidency. So how do we explain that? You know what I'm saying? This is the same one who wanted you to also vote for Hillary, knowing damn well that not only she was a crook, more black people died under the Clinton administration, so-called in Africa. They made movies about it, like Black Hawk Down and these other movies, Hotel Rwanda and all that. More people died under them than anybody else. But these are the people that they promote to you, because these are also the so-called black or white apologists that have been putting the screws in Haiti, that have been creating the slave situation that's actually going on in Haiti right now through the Dominican Republic. So ask yourself this: how is it that Haiti is always hit by these earthquakes. Haiti is always destroyed and messed up by these earthquakes. But Dominican Republic on the same island, and they don't ever get hit. They don't ever have none of those issues. But when Toussaint and Boukman and them came there to free the island, they didn't just free the Haitian side, they freed the whole thing. But now that we live in this pseudo division where you have so-called melanated people all stepping up to see who's gonna be the one to replace the white man when he's finally extinct by about 2025, well, 2043. You have a situation now where everybody is now trying to step up and trying to create different side portals for themselves that have nothing to do with the actuality of who they are as individuals. This whole thing that we're in is based upon nobody standing on their original nationality and who and what they were. Period. So I could tell you that I got you from the moon. If you don't have no family history, no oral dispensation, no type of iconography, no type of actual landmarks as they talk about in Deuteronomy 19:14, if you don't have none of that to describe where you was at and who you were, they could just get rid of you. And they have. They got statues here in America. They got temples and all of that here in America of you as an original melanated person born here. But they done told you that that's an Indian, so that's what that is. That has nothing to do with you. You understand? You are perpetually disenfranchised. And whenever you have a perpetually disenfranchised people, what that means is that the hosting government is trying to keep them stateless. And so what they do is they get a lot of black apologists, a lot of pseudo-black intellectuals, a lot of pseudo, what's the word we use? Collaborators. That's an excellent word for it. Collaboration in the idea that they are here to basically speak for you. And because they are making better choices about their life, they have the best insight of what you should do for yours. Again, man, slavery by any other name is still slavery. You understand what I'm saying? If you are constantly subordinating yourself under somebody else because you feel that they have a certain key that you don't, when all you got to do is sharpen your own key, or matter of fact, kick the door in to get it yourself, then these people are always going to eat. These people are going to always be in a situation where they're going to be able to perpetually disenfranchise you from yourself by telling you things like, oh, well, Trump going to get in and he going to shut it all down and all black people going to go to camps and all that. Trump ain't never say that. Now, again, don't take it for granted. I'm not advocating for Trump or any political so-called United States president because that's not my country. So I had no vested interest on any of them getting in, because regardless of who get in, I know what my country and my government and this said government was set up for me to do. But again, because we're now talking from the perspective of we only understand government from the Western European understanding of that, then that's the way that we have to function. So because Western Europeans only do business via proxy, because their actual word don't mean nothing in their individual countries, so what they're going to do, they're going to try to get a so-called Jew or so-called middleman to come in and advocate for them. You realize that most of the wars that's going on right now are all proxy wars, meaning that none of the wars that's happening are happening for the people that are fighting them. They are happening because other people are coming in to different sides and disenfranchising those individual people, and now creating a situation where they could be perpetually at, so being perpetually at odds with one another. There's no way that they can create an even discourse for diplomacy or any sort of restitution to settle their differences, because all of the wars that are happening now were meant to be perpetual. One thing I say about Trump, he wasn't with the Iraq war and all that from the beginning. And because he wasn't in it then, he don't have to say that he was in it now. So that also makes him look better to certain people that want to make it like he gonna be a pseudo savior for these people. When really, when I look at him, I feel like when I look at him, I'm looking at Richard Nixon. You know what I'm saying? And keep it real with you, black people made more money under Nixon than anybody else, believe it or not. And the wild thing with this guy is that he basically is coming from a strictly business background. You understand? So from a business background, everything is coming from the bottom line. So there's certain things when it comes to the bottom line that if it doesn't add up, if it don't make dollars, it don't make sense. So from the very beginning, if we look at this escalation to where we are now, to where somebody like this could become president, so-called black people are exactly where white people was when Obama got elected. Only difference now is the reverse energy has come in. So where there was hope with this guy, there's now despair. But the thing about it is, this guy never really did nothing for you in the first place. People act like black folk wasn't getting murdered and maimed and all that, and he was actually sitting there and advocating. This dude was drinking beers with police that was running up in Black Boulet's house and beating him up. Remember that whole Henry Louis Gates thing? No, people don't remember that. People don't remember when that happened, but I do. So the same way that I do, the reaction of people in this society that are on this 2 to 3 second attention span, you forget that the Gulf War, when Saddam was there, he was there to stabilize the region. You forget that Saddam was the one that they was paying to fight Iran, Ayatollah Khomeini and them. You forget that when he was destabilized, that destabilized all of Iraq, which then created the quagmire of terrorist organizations today. Right now, if you want to figure out how to be a terrorist or whatever, they're going to send you to Iraq, because that's what ISIS is. ISIS stands for the Iraq Syria Islamic State, right? But before there was ISIS over there, they already had a preparatory ISIS over here, so that way they could try to link up so-called black people that signed up for that stuff and link them up with them. But I always thought it was interesting how they would name a pseudo-Islamic society on both sides after a Greek version of our set. It didn't make sense to me. But it made sense to certain people because a lot of people signed up for that. And then look what happened. Now these same people, good people, American born or whatever, they now are listed as terrorists. You understand? That's not what they got into that for. Black people who got into this knowledge or consciousness or whatever, they didn't get into this thing to be put on terrorist lists and blow up white people and all that. People ain't doing that. People just want to be in a position where they could give right knowledge, wisdom, and understanding to their children and have some sort of tradition or ritualistic somewhat society that takes them out of the Negro, black, and colored thing. What's wrong with that? Well, what's wrong with that is that these Negroes been making money off of your name for the past 240 years. What's wrong with that is that you're in a perpetual society where your own brothers is vying now for the new position of the new white man to be over you. You're also in a position where right now, this is the best time where you can do whatever you want to do. Because one thing about this nigga Trump, he's about private industry. Say what you want to say. I saw an interview and this dude was like, well, look, what are we even in Iraq for? He said, why are we even here? He said, it seems like no matter where we go, he said, our total Middle East foreign policy needs to be thrown in the toilet. That's equivalent to when John F. Kennedy said that he was going to break the CIA up into 1,000 pieces. See, what you got to understand, too, is that Trump was the shill. He was the shill that they was using to make Hitler look better. But the problem with Hitler was that all of her health concerns on one, and then two, she is the literal buck dancer for Soros and the rest of them so-called geopolitical people that's been ritualistically destroying the world and the country and everything else. So in that, they pump Trump up to be the one to make her look better so that way people will be scared into voting for her. But the exact opposite happened. Because what people don't know is that he's got a heavy Jupiter return coming back now in his sun sign. So it's creating this backlash of where people felt that whatever until I actually see this dude on some like, well, all black people are niggas and we locking them up. Everything is conjecture. Because I've actually seen people in our so-called black community, in the conscious community, refer to y'all as animals, refer to y'all as people that niggas need to get away from. That there's nothing in the community that can happen with y'all, that niggas gotta go to other communities, go with Caucasian people and get them behind them so they could do something for you, because anything they try to do for you directly, you destroy. And these are the people that y'all pay money to. These are the people who not only, speaking of people like that, but what about the people that put these type of people in front of you to be the ones to actually co-sign and saying, oh, well, this one, he could set fires with his mind and he's the best thing, and he's the new young master that's here to save us all, and then y'all buy it. Y'all buy that shit. Y'all buy it. And this has nothing to do with the charlatan. This don't have nothing to do with the people that even propped him up. This has to do with us, the people, what's in your Moorish science temple. Because this is the Moorish science temple you're supposed to be in. The physical temple that you're looking for, these dirty Moors done messed that up. They done messed it up for you. So if you want to get it right, you got to go back within. That's why the prophet shut the physical temples down in 1928, 1929. But they're not going to tell you that. But to get that, you got to get the FBI reports. You got to read the history on where all of this stuff came from. Everybody talking about Garvey, no doubt that's my man. But let's talk about the one that was putting money on Garvey books in the jail. That was the prophet. Let's talk about the prophet was the one going checking him out. But why didn't we hear about the prophet Noble Drew Ali until we damn near was old and couldn't do shit with the information? Why? Who was keeping that from us? The same time they were telling you about Marcus Garvey, how come they didn't tell you about the prophet? They was contemporaries. They told you about W.B. Du Bois, right? They told you about everybody. But you know why? Because all these Negroes came out of the Moorish Science Temple of America Divine and National Movement, which is the organ back to the old Moorish Empire, the old Maroccan Empire. And none of these niggas want you to be a real noble. None of these Moors want you to really, really live in your real true power and divinity. Because if you do that, then you don't need them. If you are the Moorish Science Temple of America Divine and National Movement, so saith the Lord, the temple of God dwells within, right? So if that means that you're the physical temple, right? That means that you can be in Morocco wherever you are, because the state of the temple is perpetual. What they're not telling you is that the Al-Moroccan state is a perpetual state of being. That place that you call the Kingdom of Morocco over there with their little king or whatever. Hey, y'all. Yeah, man, what I was saying with the Kingdom of Morocco is just what I said it is. It's a kingdom. But it's a kingdom that was established after 1956. That's not the same Morocco that was there prior to that. You really want to get into the history of Morocco, start researching the real Moors that was running the country. Start researching the riffing. Everybody talking about they want to be Moors and this, and that. Well, then where's your riffing connection? You know what I'm saying? How you connected to them? Who was that? Research it. Find it out. I can't do it all. But on my Gumroad site, I got a whole class on them, on what that was and how we connected to that, how the prophet connected to that. But I'm not going to waste your time going into all that. What I'm going to say, though, now is that how can you have a kingdom without an empire? So you the king of the people you come with, you the empire of the people you conquer. So if that's the kingdom of Morocco, right? But that kingdom was established after our status went politically dormant, i.e. national security here under political status Truth A1 in 1956. So it's a coincidence. It's a coincidence. At the same time our status went politically dormant here, right? Classified here, that they were able to establish a whole kingdom, right? With a flag that we already raised here in 1928 when they was under the jurisdiction of the French. Other person the other day asked me, they said, oh, well, you're Moroccan or whatever, so you speak French, right? Parlez-vous français? I was like, nah. The Moors that we was a part of, the Moors of the empires that I was a part of, we didn't speak French on purpose because that was the language of the occupier. French is not an indigenous language to Africa. Don't y'all know that? Like think about what's going on. There's no indigenous Moorish language being spoken in Morocco right now. Right now, there's not one. And that's one of the oldest places in the world. But again, that's just a satellite kingdom in our empire. So if that's the kingdom, where the empire at? I'll wait. Same thing. How is it that you can have a British king, right? British people, right? The royal family that everybody bigs up, the Queen of England and all of that, right? How is it that you're going to big them up to be the British royal family and the British people accept them as a British royal family when they was transplanted to be the British royal family from Germany during World War II after the assassination of Archduke Ferdinand? What's up with that? How y'all let foreign people sit on your indigenous throne? You know why they could do that? Because the indigenous throne of England is not even for English. It's Scottish. They stole the Scone stone, the Scandoon stone, and put that in there and put it under the throne. And then once they did it in Britain, they took the same stone, right? Because that's what we used to consecrate the kings on. Took the same stone, brought it to Rome. It's under the throne. It's under the Pope's throne right now. But on the back of the Pope's throne, it say Assalamu alaikum. So what's up with that? But Moors don't want to deal with that. The reason why I bring that up is because what they do is they transplant the people that they can control in places that need to be controlled. So the British so-called government that was set up there in 1956 or 1945 or whatever, they all Germans. Same thing with the present Turkish government. The present Turkish government that's doing all this shit they doing now, right? That government only been in existence for the past, since really 1950, really. And even then, they were the ones, they couldn't get an indigenous Turk to outlaw the fez or the turban over there. So you know what they did? They went to one of the satellite places that the old Turks took over, called Cyprus, right? And they raised this fake king over there, who they called the Ataturk. The Ataturk wasn't even full-blooded Turkish. He was a straight Greek. And they made him Turkish enough to wear the fez, to go back to Turkey, to then outlaw the fez to everywhere else. So then from that point on, the Turks started wearing derbies. And then the derby became the symbol of the so-called Young Turks, and then all of those people who were associated with Turkish type of business, meaning we go in and shut stuff down and receive tribute and all of that. All of those people were transported after the 20s, and they brought them over here. A lot of them went into Chicago. That's why you see Al Capone and them niggas wearing derbies. You understand? This is why you always see the gangster movies. They not wearing top hats. The gangsters never wore the top hats. The gangsters wore the derbies, because the derby was consistent with the turban or the fez, because that's what they used the Ataturk to disenfranchise the national Turkish people from, so that way they wouldn't have it. So again, another example of them taking somebody who's not even from the people that they trying to conquer, right? And then making them responsible over a whole nother people because they don't know the history, how they got there. Who that sound like? That sound like us. So when people talk about treaties and stuff, oh, the treaties don't apply to us. Of course they don't apply to you if you are not a party to them. And you cannot be a party to any international treaty if you have the noose of somebody owning you around their neck. So of course, the United States of America, the General Congress Assembled, that's a country. Right? I've never disputed that. The United States, though, the United States, incorporating the Lloyd Bank of London, after Rothschild and them, that's a corporation. And that's what has the stranglehold over the country. But if you don't have no nationality and you don't know how any of this applies to you from a general basis, what's going to happen is people are going to try to create little fake reservations and stuff for you to go up under them and live in, so that way they can be the new white person under you. How you going to bring people into an enclave environment that you've created for them to deal with, and one of the prerequisites of they're going to have a nationality, but you don't got one? What sense does that make? What sense does it make for you to now come out of the United States system, right? And then instead of you going to the empire and the shit that's left for you, you go into another man-made joint that's not even as old as the United States. And then put yourself into that because this brother, oh, well, you know, his apron is clean and the way that he talk and all of this, like the charlatan shit is a rap now, y'all. Like, it's to the point where it's like y'all will just believe anything. Y'all will say and accept anybody in your community. And that's the problem. So-called black people, y'all not discerning enough. You need to learn the power of indifference. You need to learn the power of saying no. You need to learn the power of, if this nigga was lying to me then, he's lying to me now. You need to know the power of your own, standing on your own two, and standing on your own square, and learning how to disseminate what is actually applicable to you and what is not. Because these niggas will tell you anything. They'll tell you anything. They'll say, hey, I'm gonna create this land and have this land. You could be a resident on you know what the word resident mean? You know what I'm saying? Like let's stop using words that we don't really know, because niggas is talking all of this fake law shit because they ain't never studied nothing. And then you on the other hand, now you got the Moors that actually do have a lot of the keys to the shit, but they've been so miseducated since 1938 through the reorganization, they don't even know. So they got Moors thinking that all I gotta do is go to the temple, get a little temple card, and then all of the stuff that I had prior to that has nothing to do with me. I'm not even under jurisdiction of that. Oh yeah? Well, guess what? If they stop you on the street and you got two conflicting IDs, one of them people on them IDs are going to jail. And it ain't going to be the one that you, it ain't going to be the Moorish one. It's going to be you, because you're not doing it correctly. You have to be right, exact, and correct. It's not enough for you to be cool. It's not enough for you to have a nationality. What's the use of having a nationality? You know what to do with it. What's the use of having knowledge? What's the use of understanding the fact that we have that something pertains to us specifically, something called the diversity of citizenship, right? That basically says that you could be born somewhere, but that don't mean that you're from there. What makes you from there is the laws of jus sanguinis versus the laws of jus soli, meaning the laws of the place of origin.